after that, we'll come back here together at 7, correct? 6:45, thank you very much. We'll come back here at 6:45, and then we'll get started on the approval of our minutes. We'll have one opportunity for general public comment tonight, so we're combining those to the beginning of the meeting. That way, if you arrived at 5 or 5:30, you don't have to wait till the very end to be heard. So we'll have an opportunity for public comment at the beginning of our meeting. That public comment will be on any of our action items or any other topic. And then I'll turn to my colleagues for comments, and then we'll work through the agenda. We do have a number of scheduled public hearings tonight, and I'll be combining a few of those because several of them are related to similar topics. So we'll have a scheduled public hearing on amendments to our Title IX of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids related to animals. We also have a public hearing related to a significant project in actually the first ward called Factory Yards. And then we'll have a public hearing on past performance and future needs of our housing and community development program. So we'll have those later on after we come back together at 6:45. Well, we'll start at 7, but we're going to try to get people to sit back down and get back settled. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. If you would join me for a moment of silence, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Now if you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we will have roll call.
Commissioner Perdue? Present. Commissioner Isasi?
Present.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Present.
Commissioner Knight?
Here.
Commissioner Robbins?
Present.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes. And Commissioners, can I get a motion to excuse Commissioner Moody, who is out of town? Support. Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, so that will take us to staff presentations tonight. So we'll spend some time with that. We'll turn it over to Doug Matthews. And then after that, we'll take a break. And then, as I said, we'll come back together and we'll get started when we come back together at 7 with public comment.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, and you know what, Doug, before I turn it over to you, let me just take a moment. I see Bing Goei in the back there. Let me give him a wave. I want to thank him for hosting us in this beautiful space, the Goei Center. Bing is a great partner in our community on a whole host of efforts, and we really love this space. Some of us remember before he came to the West Side and invested in bringing it back to life. It's such a beautiful space, and so thank you, Bing. We really appreciate it. Thank you. So with that, now I will turn it over to Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. So first of all, thank you all for making the time to be here. One of the things that we've really wanted to do with the Commission Nights Out is to create an opportunity to fully engage, number one, but also to engage on some of the things that are meaningful specifically for each one of our wards. So that started last year with the way that we went about our engagement. We focused on some specific areas and asked you all for your ideas and priorities around those areas. And those are things that then informed our budgeting, informed our strategic planning for the year. And what you're going to see today is some of the results of that. So some of the achievements that we've made over the last year, specifically in the first ward, for the first ward, for you all to get a look at. First of all, let's give a big thanks to El Granjero. Always excellent food. We've also tried to be very intentional about sourcing the meals that we have for these from within the wards that we're serving. So El Granjero is a fantastic partner in that respect. So some of the budget highlights for this fiscal year. You all may know, maybe you don't, the City Commission here over the past few months has approved some code changes specific to lead dust testing as part of our rental property certification program. That's part of our bigger effort to make sure that our homes are safe throughout the community. A lot of folks hear about lead in the water and they believe that lead in the water is the primary issue here in Grand Rapids. It's not. In fact, it's the lead that results from the paint in our older homes. And we know that we have a lot of those older homes right here in the first ward. So from an economic development standpoint, factory yards, I believe we may have an item on that this evening to talk about. Big redevelopment that's coming here to the first ward that includes income restricted units. You see some of the other items here just in the past year in terms of economic development here in the first ward in terms of the creation of jobs and really focusing on development that includes affordability as a consideration. From a Parks and Recreation standpoint, these are the investments that we either intend to make or in the process of making specific to the first ward. That includes really from the top of the ward to the bottom of the ward. You see Richmond Park, Roberto Clemente, Sullivan Field, which I believe we have a little bit of additional information on here. Our investments in summer day camps at Garfield and Roosevelt. The programming, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the GR Outside program. So one of the things that the Parks and Recreation Department has tried to do is lower the barriers to entry for people that want to get outside. Anybody that enjoys camping, mountain biking, kayaking, knows that those can be expensive activities to initially get involved with. And what the Parks Department has done is create both programming and a gear library so that any of our residents can check out gear and they can try those things out, get outside, and get healthy. You'll see here investments for senior wellness, as well as a little over $1 million to support the development of the Otsego Drain Basin site. So that's a site that we acquired over the past year that we intend to make additional parkland. It's part of a total of about 20 acres of additional parkland that we've acquired over the last year. I may have skipped some. Okay, Sullivan Field. So phase 1 construction. How many folks are familiar with Sullivan? It's got a long history in this community. And if you haven't been there, just the opportunity to sit and take in the history, you can really feel it. And that's a partnership with the fans of Valley Field to renovate that park for community use. You'll see we've got $1.4 million that are dedicated from Parks Millage this year. But we also have a second phase that's already been supported by another $1 million in state appropriations, and they continue to raise money to be able to achieve some of the restorations that you see here in these pictures. From water, we talked about lead in the water, lead service line replacements. One of the things as a community that we don't want to do is to wait until we have a problem. So we've been very aggressive in replacing our lead service lines throughout the community over the last few years, and we'll continue to do that really over the next 10 years until we have all those replaced. I mentioned to the commission this morning when I gave this update that the only thing that's limiting us at this point is the funding that we have available and the number of contractors that we can get doing the work. Participatory budgeting, we're continuing in that process. You see there's an item here. This is actually specific to the third ward on lead service lines. But we've got, at this point, all but one of our participatory budgeting projects are out for proposals from the community. One of those specific here to the first ward has to do with the reduction of violence in the community. There's also another that's actually
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for taking time to go around to the tables and talk to different city employees and learn more about our services. I'm going to go ahead and get started on this next portion of our meeting. Before we move to public comment, and as I indicated, tonight we'll have one opportunity for public comment. We combine them so that those of you who have been with us since 5 or 5:30, you don't have to stick around till the end of the meeting if you want to provide comment to this body, especially tonight because we have several scheduled public hearings. So if you are here tonight to speak about one of our scheduled public hearings, I'm going to ask you to stay put until I open up those public hearings. We do have scheduled public hearings on some of the amendments that we're making to our Title IX of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids Ordinance under animals. Then we have a public hearing for a project over on Godfrey that we often refer to as Factory Yards. And then we have a public hearing to consider past performance and future needs of housing and community development programs. So if you're here tonight to speak on any of those issues, I'm going to ask you to stay put until I open up those scheduled public hearings. Before I open up the first opportunity for public comment, we do have a translator with us tonight. So if you need assistance with translation services, you are welcome to come forward. And if the translator wants to come up and let folks know who they are, that would be great. So again, if you need assistance, please let us know.
My name is Victoria de Esteva, and I am very pleased to provide interpretation in Spanish during the meeting and for public comments. Soy Victoria Inchauste de Esteva y estoy muy complacida en proveer servicios de interpretación durante la reunión y para comentarios públicos. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I'll start with the first opportunity for public comment. A couple things about public comment. You can come up for our commission night out. Public comment is for any of our action items, so any agenda items that we voted on earlier today, or for any other comments that you wish to share with this commission other than the scheduled public hearings that I referenced earlier. So a couple things about public comment. We asked you that you come up to this podium right here. We asked you to write your name down on that clipboard so that we can get it accurate in our minutes. And we ask that you direct your comments to this elected body and not to anyone in the audience. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. You will see a timer, so that will help you, and then I'll let you know when your time is up. And then a couple things, we do ask that you refrain from a number of things. We ask that you refrain from clapping or booing or cheering or using profanity or vulgar language. So we want to make sure that whoever comes up and speaks that they feel comfortable sharing their opinion regardless of whether we, this elected body, or any of you in the audience agree with them or not. People have a right to be heard even if their opinions are different than ours or anyone else's. And so we'll go ahead and open up this first public comment period. And again, you can come on forward, share your name, the city that you live in, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. If you are speaking on an action item, so these are items that we talked about earlier today in one of our standing committee meetings. Can you just please let us know what that action item is? All right. Hi.
Better known as Miss T Black Facts. I have an issue because in 2021 of January, the police brought a search warrant to my mom's house saying that for hazardous materials. They asked me who I was. I don't have a criminal background, and nor was I. They watched my Facebook page, but they said I'm a social media influencer. So the police pulled me out of my house, beat me up. One tried to say I tried to attack his gun. This is what the dice 7, and I believe that one of them was Christopher Sher. I was in my underwear. I hadn't broke any crime. They started saying that I was resisting arrest. I was doing this and that, and I kept saying, why am I under arrest? They said they'll tell me later. They thought I had a warrant for the thing, but the guy took me to my car. He searched me in my underwear, and they took me to the jail after they beat me. I was in a coma for 3 days. I had to have back surgery and a number of other things. So then they kept my mail for a month, and within a month, they charged me with a crime of resisting arrest. And they told me that they didn't have to tell me that I was under arrest or Mirandize me. They didn't have any reason to even run my name in. I was in my home. I didn't stop them, but they told me that they wasn't going to arrest me, but I kept coming out there filming them. And all of this is on the cams. And I don't understand how is that all of this is going on and the people that see the cams are not seeing that. This is not the only time that they've done that. They made up a fake Facebook page and they lured me out of my home to the Chinese restaurant talking about they want to help me make change. They got out there telling they ran in and arrested me, told me I had 3 warrants. One was for the warrant they thought I had in Wyoming. One was for the warrant when they sought to beat me and pull me out of my home. I don't have a criminal background, and there was no reason for them to even touch me. So then after they had pulled me out of my home and took me to jail, they put it on my record. So now I can't get a job, whatever. That's false allegations, so that hold us back. These reports that's going in are not accurate. Once they lowered me down and they surrounded me and they went to brag and telling them that I am Miss T Black Facts, I'm a social influencer, and I'm teaching black people how to get away with committing crimes. And that they was giving each other high fives, talking about good job, and I don't like the way that they do their job. Things like that. And I told them on the way there, I said, look, I said, y'all want to come after me? I said, but y'all doing exactly what I said. I said, didn't a little 17-year-old girl just get shot? All these things is happening in our community, and the only thing on the news and that y'all are trying to hear is that it's us. Now, all of these, we have plenty of videos that we are making, and we're going to do a class action lawsuit on the DICE program. They go around a liquor store. There's 20 liquor stores in the city of Grand Rapids, none of them owned by black, but they use everything in our communities to hold us down. Now y'all have the drones on top of this, but this information is not getting out because people are too scared. I'm scared to even come around these police. We're terrified of them. They're not doing us any service when they come to our community, and our cries is not being heard. We can't even talk to you, Mayor Bliss. I done asked several times, but y'all have a blessed
Thank
day.
you.
I'm done.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Bowman. I don't know where to start. I have several situations with GRPD. I am a victim of Christopher Shore's actions. I was harassed and profiled by him. I was pressed charges on me. He arrested me off for no reason. And we need answers. We haven't heard anybody, any representative, nobody speak of what happened with Patrick, anything. Nobody's addressing the police actions, or they're holding them accountable for what they're doing. But we always get held accountable. Just like back in 2016 when the prosecutor, assistant prosecutor, drunk driving, hurt someone, and guess what happened to him? Nothing. He got charged with that, felony, but he got a misdemeanor. And guess what he's doing now? He's a lawyer. But he have not been held accountable of what he's done, or the police covering up a crime. Here it is, the sergeant was demoted from that incident. Now he's the sergeant again. What evaluation was done on him? What have he done to get that position back? Nobody's holding these officers accountable for what they're doing. Even with the housing, it's abroad with the black. None of these black issues are in commissioner meetings, on the board agendas. But we are hurting the most. A lot of these big companies that y'all network get funding for minorities, but we don't get them services, or we get cut off from easily. Right. Ooh. It's like we have no representation for the blacks or the minorities. There's a bunch of black faces going on. People that's in our skin but not taking action. They got the authority to do and make change, but it's not changing. Nowhere in our community. Clearly, in that we had a meeting that wasn't on commission meeting that the community did not want them drums. We said we didn't want them. And guess what? You wasn't there to take none of that in. But all we see is nexus. You approving them. You're not in none of our community meetings or anything. Nobody is listening to us. When are we going to be heard? And change is going to happen with us. With the people that's in position, that's not being held accountable of their crimes that they're doing. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is Shannon Tanis. I'm from the First Ward. I haven't really heard anything about small communities for the homeless. I've seen a lot of projects pitched and failed, and I also know that the community land trust that Dwelling Place is in charge of, it's failing. The program doesn't even meet the economic necessity of what people can afford. So that's what I'm asking the city. I know that former commissioner of the First Ward, Kirk, he was a fan and trying to work on small communities that were more economically affordable for us in the housing issue. I haven't heard anything, but I know that you guys have been working on stuff, but I don't know. It's just not information being funneled out to the community. I would really like to work with the city on crunching some ideas because at this point, people that are in this crisis are already approved for housing. Their credit's already there, but there's just not enough for us, and they're having to go out of market and figure out options themselves. So if I can come up with a better economic option than anyone is providing for me, and I'm plugged into resources and the homeless assistance and all of this stuff, and I've been funneled through the system 4 different times and still haven't gotten a voucher for one reason or another, it's just insane. So I would like to be able to bring these ideas to you and work on these ideas to make these type of more affordable communities more viable and utilizing more of the outskirts of Kent County than rather so immediate downtown, because it seems like it just can't be accommodated here. I know that the city has been trying, but it just looks like we need to reach a little bit more further out so that way it can be accommodated a little bit easier. It just feels like it's too compact here for how much project is needed to accommodate those who are in crisis with the homeless system. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Lucas, First Ward, thanks again for these excellent night out meetings. I'm in front of you right now to do that thing I tend to do that confuses those who want to paint me with just one hue. I'm here to offer my appreciation to somebody I've criticized openly. Tonight I'll thank Chief Windstrom for pledging to take on the inexcusable and dangerous antics of local motorcycle and car meetups. As I've said to a lot of you, I have a lead foot, I love speed, I love beautiful fast cars, but I understand time and place, though most of these cops probably wouldn't agree with my estimation of that. I may not be in step with some of my fellow activists right now, but our right to demand control of police is not diminished by acknowledging when they're handling a common concern. How they deal with this remains to be seen. I will remind everybody of the vast deficit of trust, but something that's has needed to be done, and I'm going to try to be supportive unless it goes sideways. I wish it hadn't taken a fiery crotch rocket Darwin Award or the death of Ilana Vasquez to get the powers that be motivated on this topic. Like so many other things, many of us were warning you that this was spinning out of control. I've also pondered how much of this was just the police hanging back on purpose to affect public opinion about false narratives of funding and staffing. You'll find very few harsher critics of police than myself, but when it comes to these fools on the road, you'll find me cheering just about any time one of them is snatched off his ride. It's one thing to be minding your own business on an April morning and get profiled, pulled over, and end up murdered by a mentally warped animal with something to prove. It's a whole different thing to be taking over intersections and terrorizing people, or hosting illegal car meets with no crowd control in the middle of a bunch of vehicle stunts. Showing out like that's asking for attention, and playing the victim when you get that attention is disingenuous. It is also disingenuous for business and government leaders to gloss over the lack of offerings our city provides for young people, especially late at night. A growing city needs to serve all, It's easy to condemn the antics on the Blue Bridge, but between mismanagement of that space and droves of bored young folks, it's no wonder we had issues. I encourage everybody not to just sit back and assume our greater challenges are now behind us. I'll ask that GRPD prove they can handle this without fumbling and definitely without killing anyone. Perhaps this issue can be one place where an example can be set about how to do the job of policing without the abuse, racism, corruption, cover-ups, blackmail, legal settlements, and so on. So this is me giving you a chance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. Nice to see you all. Thanks for hosting this event in the First Ward at the lovely Goei Center, which is a favorite place of mine. I'm Janet Zahn, First Ward resident and co-chair of the Grand Rapids Climate Coalition. Just a few things tonight. On the heels of the 20th Mayor's Grand River Cleanup, which offers fabulous engagement in the protection of our water, it's great to also hear about progress on urban ag. Helping to provide local food in the areas of the city which struggle to get access is a vital component of our efforts to build climate justice in Grand Rapids. But my comments tonight are really inspired by news from the United Nations today and are connected to the city's strategies to meet its carbon reduction goals. To quote, "At the heart of carbon markets is what is seen by many as the flawed notion that avoiding or reducing emissions in one place can make up for ongoing emissions elsewhere. Delaying the transition away from fossil fuels by purchasing pollution credits only serves to maintain business as usual and increases the likelihood of climate catastrophe," said Erica Lennon, senior attorney at the Center for International Environmental Law's Climate and Energy Program. Changed behavior is what matters. We cannot buy our way out of a carbon footprint. Money that we invest in real renewable energy for our use is how we are part of the solution in a meaningful way. I'm happy that the city is moving forward with plans for solar at the former Butterworth landfill. This should be the start of our transition to renewable energy. And the Community Master Plan is another place for establishing a path to clean energy and climate justice. Grand Rapids Climate Coalition was happy to submit our suggestions for what would make the plan one which does that. We look forward to hearing your response and to seeing the draft plan when it is ready. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is Sally Martinez. I speak English, but not too much. A few words I'm not can explain it, but she be my interpreter. El jueves pasado,
Last Thursday,
mi esposo tiene un food truck
my husband has a food truck.
y el food truck ustedes saben que es movible. Está en un lado, está en otro.
The
y
food
así.
truck moves around, so you can have it in one place or in another.
Invierte unas horas en un lado y en otro lado así.
He has the food truck in one area and then he moves it to another area.
El jueves pasado llegó un inspector de la ciudad
Last Thursday, an inspector from the city came.
y fue muy grosero.
He was very harsh.
Yo pienso que un inspector debe llegar a identificarse.
I really think that an inspector, city inspector, needs to come and identify himself.
Mi nombre es fulano, represento a la ciudad de Grand Rapids.
Say his name and that he represents the city of Grand Rapids.
¿Me puedes enseñar tus permisos para estar vendiendo aquí?
Can you show me your permits that allow you to be selling your food here?
Si la persona no tiene X permiso por ignorancia, porque somos hispanos, estamos comenzando un negocio,
So if you don't have one of the permits because you just ignore that you needed that one because we're Hispanics and we're just starting this business.
pero esta persona llegó con una prepotencia diciendo, quiero ver tu permiso.
So he came speaking inappropriate, saying, I want to see your permit.
Nunca se presentó.
So he never said his name or he introduced himself to us.
Y mi esposo trató de explicarle pues, que teníamos todos los permisos, pero ignorábamos que teníamos que tener un permiso para estar parqueado en una gasolinera por ciertas horas.
So we had all our other permits. The only one that we didn't have is that we needed one to be parked, the food truck parked in a
Gas station.
gas station.
Esta persona, inspector, llegó, nunca se presentó, fue y fue, ya no, mi esposo iba a pues, responderle, pero él no dejó, sino que agarró y se fue a pelear con el manager de la gasolinera.
So this person came and he didn't wait for an answer. He just went to the gas station manager to kind of like fight or, yeah, just talk to the guy in an appropriate way.
Fue a gritarle al manager.
Scream to the manager.
Entonces nosotros, mi esposo al siguiente día ya no se pudo parquear ahí.
So next day, my husband could not park over there.
Entonces el manager de la gasolinera nos dijo que teníamos que ir a obtener un permiso de la ciudad para poder estar ahí.
So the manager said that we needed a permit in order for us to be parked over there.
El día viernes fuimos y llenamos la aplicación
So Friday we went and we filled out our application.
y estamos esperando la aprobación.
And we are waiting for it to be approved.
Nos sentimos agredidos, como que hubo un poco de racismo, porque no por ser hispanos te debes de referir así. Yo a lo menos a mis hijos yo no les hablo con esa, ¿cómo se dice? Agresividad.
So I really think that he was very aggressive towards us, maybe because we are Hispanics and he was kind of racist towards us. Not even to my kids, I speak in the way that that person spoke to us.
Sí, quisiera que, yo no sé si la ciudad debe de entrenar a los siguientes supervisores o inspectores que deben de ser amables con uno.
So I really think that the city should train these supervisors to be kind and polite and educated with us.
Porque nosotros pagamos impuestos
Because we pay our taxes.
y de nuestras taxas pues sale para pagarles a ustedes.
So from our taxes, they pay you guys.
Ya, es todo lo que quería decir.
So this is all I wanted to say.
Gracias.
Thank you. And thanks for coming tonight and sharing that, and we'll have somebody follow up. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Hello, friends. Mark from Grand Rapids. I want to talk about Van Andel Arena, since we have everybody talking about downtown and everything. It's time for that building to be renovated. Ever since it opened in 1996, the main part of the arena remained in 1996. It has to be a full-on renovation, gut down to the studs and everything else. Dig a big giant hole in there, add more seats, get rid of the wallless seats in the upper bowl, shorten it, add more social areas and drinking rails, and have all new state-of-the-art electronic equipment. It's been long past time. They could have had that done, they could have had all that done during the COVID period. But they failed to do it. And no, gussing up the front of the arena is not good enough. I would like to see NCAA tournament games played in that building. It can be done. It's time to get it done. Because if not, more trouble is going to come. It's too old, it's outdated, and it needs to be renovated. Yes, it's going to cost a whole lot of money, but in the long run, it's going to be a little bit more better. You might have better events, better gatherings, better everything. But if it's kept the way it is now, those events are going to move elsewhere. And you don't want to see downtown Grand Rapids not lose any type of money. Because we all know money talks. So, have the people think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Oh, and I'm going to ask you not to clap. So we asked you not to do that because we don't want people to feel like if they have an opposing view, they can't come up and speak. So, all right.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners and staff. Daniel Scott, resident of the First Ward here for almost 30 years. Just a brief invitation. Again, we're handing out free clothing, sleeping bags, blankets, backpacks, duffel bags, summer and winter clothing, towels, toiletry items, and some food at our location at 320 South Division. I appreciated the opening speaker speaking about reducing violence. Well, praise God. And by the way, my real identity is I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. But violence has been reduced in Grand Rapids since the Women's Heritage Clinic was shut down, permanently closed on August 23rd. Now, I take no delight in the death of Thomas Gordon. I am no better than him in the flesh. But since he began his practice of violence at 320 East Fulton, by the way, since 1987, estimates are that he violently murdered 55,000. Let that sink in. 55,000 innocent children. $55,000. No wonder we've had violence in our city, because that is the ultimate violence. We would even have less violence if we now closed 425 East Cherry, which is commonly called Planned Parenthood, which is really a misnomer, because now they are dispensing the murder pill in mass, charging $600 to $800 for those pills, often targeting the poorest and the most vulnerable women in our city. And not only is it killing the babies, but nationwide, emergency room visitations by women taking this murder pill is up 500%. To me, that's sexist. It's racist. It's cruel. Let's close that place down. We'll have less violence in Grand Rapids.
Time's up, Mr. Scott. Others who wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is LaDonna Norman. I'm a resident in Wyoming. And in August of 2023, I brought to your attention an assault that happened with an encounter with the Grand Rapids Police Department and my daughter. 3 days before her 30th birthday, the Grand Rapids Police Department sexually assaulted her, and it was caught on video. Not only that, as tensions rose in the parking lot, they removed my daughter from that area and took her to an unknown location, and they got out the car, and they proceeded to talk amongst each other and get their story straight. On September 7th, all those charges were dismissed, and the Grand Rapids Police Department is being investigated for the sexual assault of my daughter. Again, her name is Lanisha Norman. She was assaulted July 21st, 3 days before her 30th birthday. I'm here to talk about, if this is a city for all, then why does it seem like that they take their anger out on black folks? Nighttime policing and daytime policing are two different things. They're really bullying. They sit, and I found out if you go fishing, you're gonna catch some fish. And the Grand Rapids Police Department is out, and they're baiting and catching fish. And you have these young people being set up because they have nothing to do and nowhere to go. They're being set up in cases being thrown on them, and then they get these public defenders. And if my daughter didn't have me, these cases wouldn't have gotten dismissed. And all I'm asking for you is to use your human side when you deal with people of color in the inner city and the police department, because fear is real where we come from. And even though I don't break the law, the fear is all the same when I'm being pulled over. And I can only overstand what Patrick Loyoya's parents are going through. We have to do something. We can't have bullying police. They pose as gangs, and they're the real threat. And if we can take regular folks, if you start listening with your human side, then maybe we can come up with some viable solutions to help you, but you have to listen to us first. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Ellen Atkins. I'm King Park Neighbors. And my concern are the businesses in my neighborhood that have criminals hanging outside all the time. I don't understand why these places can't be closed or at least monitored, because people have been killed in these establishments outside of them, and these businesses are still going on. And I see that as a problem. As far as the police go, I'm the mother of a Kent County deputy, retired, so I see both sides of that. I wanted him to come home every day from his shift, as I do every person in blue here tonight, to come home at the end of their shift. As a community, I think we can do better, not just as policemen, because you guys do some stuff that maybe you shouldn't do, but I also see the level of disrespect that you get as well as policemen. There's two sides to every story, and I wish that we could come to a common ground. People don't respect the police because some police don't respect them, and that's kind of like the tail wagging the dog. I don't believe that training is necessary, because I don't need anyone to teach me how to treat anyone. Whether you're law enforcement or whatever it is that you're doing, the common decency to treat people with respect should be universal. So diversity training and all the things that we're being told that will take care of that are not taking care of it. We know how to treat each other. It's just fair. That's all we want. That's all I have to say, but one more thing I'm going to add, then I'll take my seat. There's high crime in my area, and many times it's my own people who are causing the crime. So I'm not going to call the person that's breaking into my house. I'm going to call the police.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Is that you?
Can we find out what business she's talking about?
How y'all doing? Hold on, I'm gonna wait. All right, I got the full commission's attention. How you doing, everybody? I'm D. Jones. As I said, I'm gonna bring one of my friends from the hood, from the trenches with me. This is my guy, Travis, right here. and he's an entrepreneur. He's a visionary too. He comes from the underserved, the South Side. I said that I would bring my friends here from the hood that I inspire, that also have visions too. But I want to let you guys know a couple things. So I just came from the gala from KDL. And I've been speaking to you guys, letting you guys know that I'm working with Kent District Libraries, which serve 600,000 patrons, to bring esports to our libraries. And somebody phone, hold on, can I get my time back?
Is that your? Thanks. All right, hold on. We'll pause real quick. Okay, go ahead, DeAndre.
All right, so as I was letting you guys know, I'm working with Kent District Libraries to bring esports to the libraries. I just found out from the guy who handles financials for KDL that they purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment to actually build an esports programming for KDL. So I've literally taken my $10,000 vision from 2018 to get in our library district to purchase hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment to be able to have an esports programming around KDL. So I'm very, very happy as a black person in the second worst city for economic development to bring something so cool, and change is coming. And it's because of me being persistent, me being passionate, and me being able to want to see our community change. Me wanting to see equity, me wanting to see diversity, me wanting to see just people have opportunity to develop games and do cool things around the community. Also, I didn't let you, sad to say this, and I don't want any sympathy, but my cousin was just killed in Chicago at a gas station. And I'm going to be working with our school, I'm going to be working with our county in our juvenile detentions. I'm actually going to be developing an esports program for kids on surveillance and kids on probation. So when I talk about the school to prison pipeline and working with the kids that don't have those opportunities that people were talking about, that are on the streets and don't have those activities, I am creating those activities, and I'm creating programs working directly with the juveniles and court system. So I look forward to doing that. I got a partnership with the NBA, so thank you, NBA. They just gave me the new NBA 2K24, so I've been at the crib playing that, and that's what we're actually going to be playing. So we're going to be playing NBA 2K24. We're going to be doing some financial education. We're going to be educating kids on life insurance and health insurance, because my cousin just died. He never got the opportunity to graduate high school or anything like that, and he doesn't have life insurance. So sadly, we live that reality of I won't say every community, but the underserved communities where we don't have health care, we don't have life insurance, and then somebody dies, and you never know. Anybody can die at any second. Anything can happen at any time. And so I'm excited for the work. I don't want any sadness. I'm just going to keep going because life goes on. And my friend Travis got a couple words.
All right, here, Travis, let me get the clock restarted. So, welcome. Go ahead.
How y'all doing? My name is Travis Jackson. I'm an entrepreneur, and let's see, I don't really even know what to say. My boy, I'm proud of him and what he's doing for the neighborhood, and I ain't too much far off from him. I'm coming from Trench Park, but I decided that I want to make a change in my life. I grew up around a lot of hustlers from both sides, the ones that run the streets and the ones that use their hands, and basically, I'm in the process of getting a business started. I seal coat, crack fill potholes with asphalt, do blacktop, stuff like that. Name of my business gonna be called JJ's Seal Coating and Asphalt. I've been into asphalt for like 6-7 years. I ran at an asphalt company as a foreman and stuff like that. I went off and got my own equipment and stuff like that, and I've been doing little parking lots and people driveways and just walking around promoting myself. And if y'all seen some of my work, I'm pretty sure y'all like it. I'm a bona fide hustler, hard worker. So if y'all got any leads or y'all need somebody to do some driveways, y'all know D Jones. I can leave my information with y'all. I can get y'all some business cards and stuff like that. And just came down here to introduce myself. That's all, This face right here gonna be a millionaire one day. You hear me? I'm gonna keep it trill with y'all, for real. That's all.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Travis. Thank you. Thanks, DeAndre. All right, others who wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
My name is Bear. I want to speak on something that's pretty touchy, and some of the people in the room have spoke about this, but how many remember Officer Kaminsky, who was violently murdered by a convicted felon? He died for no reason. And people, they don't look at the side of the law. These guys do their job. They're out there every day. They do what they have to do. And all I have to say is I stand behind Chief Winstrom and his guys, and I support him, and I always will. And they have to look at both sides. Criminals kill officers. Officers, they do what they got to do. And it's sad that people have to die. But nobody looks at both sides of it. And that's not fair. It's not fair at all. And I just want people to know they should look at both sides before they condemn the officers, because it goes both ways. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Bear. All right. Anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Hi, my name is Jose Rodriguez. I wasn't planning on speaking, but a lot of comments just got me thinking about stuff. And so many of you know, most of you know, I'm on the school board for GRPS. And I just think about the issue of police is always on my mind. It's never far from my mind. Working with black and brown students that will one day be black and brown adults. Black and brown boys will be black and brown men. And so it to me is, I want to see both sides. I want to understand that, the GRPD has humanity, but at the same time, the law doesn't protect everyday citizens. The law protects police. It protects their actions, whether they were justified or not. And at the end of the day, if a person is wronged, if someone is murdered, they don't pay for it. Taxpayers pay for it. There is no repercussion for police officers other than being let go when they get a job at, a county over. There's no real justice. When someone is murdered, like Patrick Lyoya, there is no justice in bringing him back, because the justice would have been him not dying in the first place. And every day that I work with my black and brown students, I fear for their lives if they go and do something stupid that kids do. Police officers are the solution that continues to get pushed on us as citizens of Grand Rapids, and they don't do anything but be a reactive measure to crime. They don't keep people safe. They come after the fact. And it's kind of pitiful that we have to, and no disrespect to the officer that was just mentioned, but we have to go back 16 years to talk about a police officer that was murdered. Patrick Lyoya was just murdered. We don't have to go back that far. And what that gentleman before me was going to say, criminals kill police officers, and then he stopped himself, police officers kill criminals. But what happens to innocent until proven guilty? I feel for my children that I work with every single day. I now work at Godwin Heights Public Schools. Again, majority black and brown district. And I've come here so many times to talk about this, and I don't think police are the solution. I don't think we should give them more money, because I think we should be investing in our communities, in our citizens, and honestly, we should be doing more to help the unhoused community in Grand Rapids as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Others who wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Clavon White, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1st Ward. I want to start out with a scripture. Ecclesiastes 9:16. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. See a lot of individuals that will be considered poor coming up here with something to say, and even more so as a veteran on the streets of Grand Rapids. I abide you. Truly, I see the issues that we have with homelessness, and instead of outlawing it, put rules around it. I myself, feeling profiled, just got out of court yesterday. They knocked it down to a $100 fine. I was forced to go ahead and take it. I don't want to deal with a trial in 90 days, but for a first offense that I didn't understand because the laws were changed. I'm not from here. We have noise ordinance laws. I seen that sign up, but they don't have any laws telling individuals, especially that aren't from around here, which I've seen commit the same thing that I did, the mistake, not crime, the mistake, and was treated like a repeated offender. 1 year? Can't go to the park for 1 year with children, my children. First time. I understand that I made a mistake. As a veteran, I'll take that. I'm a man, I stand on mine. But when I see people going and doing the same things that I have, I understand how I was profiled. I don't have to be a genius to see that. I see a lot of disgruntled and angry individuals, so it can't just be me. That's why I like to be last, so I can hear what other people have to say, and I can get a clear grasp on what I need to say. I understand that these laws are being passed, and I understand that they don't have any programs for a lot of these men around here, outside of Guiding Light, which when I first came here, I ended up in one of those places, and it's not a very fun place. I see repeated offenders continuously, and I get it. But the encouragement and pushing men to the front and showing them how to be foundational individuals and real males, it needs to be pressed. But they're pressed inside of these jails in small, compact areas and treated like animals. Like I said, I had to take that plea for $100, but I can't go to a park. And yet I see the same people that look a different way, ethnically or financial-wise, and they're not treated that same way. A lot of these people out here on the streets are wise, and we have something to say. But like I said, and even the scripture said it best, a poor man's wisdom is despised.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard? All right, Are you coming up, sir? Yep.
Hello, I've heard quite a few bigger problems than the one I'm going to present to you, but I've been a homeowner in the city of Grand Rapids now for over 30 years.
I'm sorry, sir, can you start with your name?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Scott Toogood, and I've been a homeowner in the city of Grand Rapids for over 30 years. And seems like in that 32 years, it's been pretty much the same pattern. Everybody has different lifestyles and different things that they do in their lives that cause different issues. My issue has been with code compliance quite a bit. They issue you a notice first. That's supposed to give you 7 days to take care of your problems, but by the time it gets to you in the mail, actually you've got about 3 or 4 days. Like to ask if, maybe possibly they could double those days. Might be a good start. I understand everybody likes things clean and neat, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, there's just different situations that cause different issues. And then after those issues have been taken care of, several weeks later, other issues come into play, and next thing you know, you found that the case that was sent to you months ago wasn't closed out, and you get a nice pink notice on your door. Well, what's that pink notice mean? That usually means you owe the city $100+ I found that to be a little bit unfair on me this year. I've paid it, and I can't say that I haven't deserved to pay it before. But this was one time where I felt pretty strongly that I didn't deserve it. But yeah, I'm just asking, loosen up on the homeowners a little bit. We're few and far in between. We're surrounded by, basically management companies and apartments, college. We're surrounded by stuff, and we're getting fewer and fewer. So just try to lighten up on us a little. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. All right, anyone else wishes to be heard? All right, I'm going to close. Oh. Hi, welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Donavia Moget. I live in the First Ward. And I just came tonight to share with the community that this Saturday we'll be having a Grand Rapids Expungement Fair at the Rapid Central Station. And I also wanted to specifically point out this is our first time doing this event with support from the City of Grand Rapids, thanks to the Office of OPA, as well as the Neighborhood Match Fund. And so this is our first time having a venue of this scale and also having the opportunity to welcome the Michigan Attorney General's office in to expedite some of these processes. So we want all residents to know about it, not just in the City of Grand Rapids, but all throughout Kent County, because this is our first fair since automatic expungement, and we think we can help a lot of people. For folks who want to get information, it is available on Facebook. They can also look online at bbcannabis.com/MEW2023. And I just want to personally thank all of you. This work started 5 years ago with you, Mayor Bliss, filing a proclamation naming it Grand Rapids Expungement Week. And at 5 years into this program, we have now helped more than 1,000 people navigate the process of having their felonies and misdemeanors removed from their records. This Saturday's event is symbolic. It's our first time not doing it in a community center or a church, but really turning the most accessible place in our community, our downtown transit platform, into a resource fair with food trucks, the Kent District Library bookmobile, and we want to make sure residents know to take advantage of that. So I hope to see you all there. It's this Saturday, the 23rd, from noon to 6 p.m., and all are welcome. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you. Thanks, Donavia.
No problem.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Any final comments? All right. I'm going to close that public comment period. We'll move to approval of the minutes, and then I'll turn to my colleagues up here to make comments. Commissioners, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our September 5th meeting?
So moved.
All right. Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, I am going to turn to my colleagues up here to make comments. I'll start here with my First Ward colleagues, since we're in the First Ward, and we'll start with our senior First Ward Commissioner, Mr. Commissioner John O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. This is really great turnout in the First Ward. Almost all the seats are full, so thank you all for being here and participating. I really enjoy these community night outs. I too want to express my thanks to my friend Goei for opening up his beautiful establishment. The first time I think we've done one of these not in a school, so this is great to be in a neighborhood business that has been a real catalyst for a lot of great things here on the west side, and especially here on the Butterworth corridor. It's a beautiful reuse of a building, and it's great to see people gathered in this space. And so, yeah, just thank you all again for being here.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Robbins?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Like my colleague, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming out. I had a ton of fun, had a lot of good laughs, and I hope you all did too. I think just in being here in the First Ward tonight, it's had me reflecting a lot upon this role and just the privilege it is to be a part of these conversations. And so just wanted to say thank you for that. I sometimes forget how great of a city it is that we live in, but it's nights like this that just remind me of how great of a community we have and how lucky we have it. So we're not perfect, but we're moving in that direction. So thanks for being here, and I hope to see you all soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Knight?
Caught me off guard again. I don't have a lot to say other than thank you all for being here tonight. It's great to see so many people out and the support that we continue to get and the conversations that we are having as we move forward trying to do some good work in this community. Thank you, Ms. Moget, for bringing that information because it's important about the expungement fair this weekend. Please share that information out with as many people as you can. The city has done some good work, as well as Ms. Moget, in really trying to help people in our community get minor situations that they didn't know could be worked out. So we really appreciate that, and also bringing attention to Art Prize. If you all didn't know that it started last week, downtown and all over the city was really busy, and we're grateful to have people coming into our community that really helps our economy and supporting a lot of small businesses that were out over the weekend doing good work. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Purdue?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for a really fun night out in the First Ward. I really enjoyed meeting so many of you and to see my neighbors in the third coming through as well. Thank you all for sharing during our open public comment period. I agree with calls for the need for comprehensive approaches to public safety, for climate protection measures, the need to engage our young people in enrichment activities, to support small businesses and to help you navigate the challenges, and to collaborate and provide resources, connect our neighbors to resources in our city. So thank you for echoing those calls as well. This is our only time to share our comments in tonight's agenda, so I do want to call your attention to a presentation we had earlier today during our Committee of the Whole meeting at 10 a.m. It's available on Facebook, on YouTube. But this morning we had an update on our strategic plan. And so a lot of updates related to our strategic priorities, our budget. So I just want to highlight a few, and then the full presentation and discussion is available if you are interested in going a little bit deeper. But we talked about spending with micro local businesses, so kind of that theme of small business support. We talked about what we've done to support affordable housing in the last kind of this current year. We gave updates on the funding that was secured to support the redesign and expansion of the MLK Lodge in the 3rd Ward, and a new fire station in the 3rd Ward. So those are really great wins for our city. We talked about connecting and engaging residents around hosting special events, our neighborhood match fund, our use of renewable natural gas, looking at Janet, how we have supported neighbors who needed support for paying their utility bills and other resources and financial support that the city has provided. I have a whole list. I don't want to kind of read 20 bullet points, but I do want to make the point that I think there's a lot of good work being done, a lot of good investments being had with our budget and with your tax dollars. So I want to thank you for that, and just encourage you, if you do want to see more, to look at that presentation and those slides from earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for coming out. I know this is a huge endeavor that begins much more than 5 o'clock when we pull into the parking lot. So thank you to all the city staff, facilities, Office of Equity and Engagement, all those that were a part of tonight's event. We got some swag at our tables, and there was a lot of thought put into what your experiences was tonight, because we know traditionally probably engaging in government, as some mentioned, might be around something that is a problem that you have to resolve, or a challenge, or something associated with a fee, and we really want to continue to highlight what are all the aspects and value-added pieces here in our city government. So thank you for taking the time out tonight. We know that it is often a lot, and thank you again for city staff, and a special shout out to Andrea for your efforts and work to think about how we can continue to reimagine nights like these. As Commissioner Knight talked about, Art Prize kicked off. You also, from what I understand, I wasn't here, but had a successful African American Heritage and Arts Music Festival. I know I'm probably missing something on the title. I got it right. So congrats to all those. I know Special Events and others supported that event, and like Cool and the Gang was here. So we have a lot of Sugar Hill, my bad. Oh my gosh. That's what I get for calling out names, Commissioner. Dang it. Okay. See, I just need to stop at some point. But I do want to highlight that because, yes, we can laugh about it, but truly, we talk about what are the activities and events, what do we have available. I agree, we do need more things for young people, but I appreciate the efforts that you have put into creating more, making art and entertainment more accessible to many people. So kudos to you. I heard it was a great event. It is also Tech Week. I know our Economic Development Department is working really closely. There's great speakers this week, great ways to engage. And tomorrow, I left my city office and saw all the activities going on for Demo Day. That's going to happen tomorrow at Calder Plaza. That is an open event put on by Star Garden, our ecosystem leader here in the community, and it's a free event open to individuals. I encourage people to attend that. And then just lastly, just appreciation for the proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month today.
I was really reflective on as we were driving here to Goei Center. I think this is a place where a lot of people come to events, but really thinking about the First Ward as a whole. The First Ward was where my family settled when they first came to the city, on the southwest side, and just thinking about all the contributions of individuals, sort of the many firsts. Ms. Stacy Stout was here today, our first Director of Equity Engagement, other individuals, other city staff that are a part of our West Michigan Latino network here to highlight the importance of government work and connecting with community and that long heritage. So there's lots of events going around to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, and just a recognition to connect in some way to support Latino business owners, small business owners across our country and this community, create 2 out of every 3 jobs, and just want to continue to support them in their endeavors and be a city that is very welcoming and supporting of them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Deputy City Clerk?
Yes, if Joel were here, he would be reminding you that today is National Voter Registration Day. It's a great day to register to vote. You can do so online, and he would say it 3 times. I'm going to say it twice. Michigan.gov/vote. That's Michigan.gov/vote.
Thank you. And thank you for standing in for him. Appreciate that. City Attorney? Nothing? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank all the staff that have come here tonight and share information about the department and services, and all those who made this community night out possible. Much appreciated. Also want to acknowledge this, I think, would be the last meeting of one of our department directors, Jeremiah Gracia. So we wish him well. Thank him for the work that he's done here at the City of Grand Rapids.
All right, thank you. All right, and I will just make a few comments before we move along into our business portion of our meeting tonight. So Commissioner Perdue, thank you for highlighting our briefing earlier today. We did have updates from both Chief Brown and Chief Winstrom, as well as Mr. Brandon Davis, who oversees our Office of Public Oversight and Accountability. So if you want to go back and watch that, you'll get a good feel for the work that we're doing. We know that there's a lot of work still to be done in this community, and that will provide you with some updates. I want to just also touch on some of the comments made about housing. We know that it's a critical, urgent need. The city works hard to support organizations that are building housing. The dollars that we allocated through the Affordable Housing Fund, which was just over $5 million, those are in the community, and those projects are hopefully going to be underway, and those units will be available soon to this community. There is a nonprofit, Next Step of West Michigan, as well as Mel Trotter. They are working on a tiny home community called Hope Village, and we're hopeful to see that move forward as well. We know that there's great need in this community. A couple weeks ago, I was able to be at a groundbreaking for the project at Carlton and Fulton, which is being done by Hope Network, and in that project, over 150 units, low-income housing units, but there's over 40 units of supportive permanent supportive housing, which we know is just really terribly needed in this community. So know that we are partnering with a lot of organizations to do what we can as fast as we can around housing. Also want to elevate a really exciting announcement that happened yesterday. So in addition to us putting out an RFI and RFP for a potential solar array at Butterworth, we also received from Department of Ag Forest Service a $5 million grant. Again, city doesn't do it alone. We did it in partnership, and the funds will go to our C4 group and Friends of Grand Rapids Parks. And those dollars will be used to plant over 16,000 trees in our city, in our neighborhoods that are in the greatest need of tree canopy. And we know how important that is, not just for air quality, but also for physical health and mental health. So we're really excited to hear that we were awarded those dollars. Those came from the IRA, so the reinvestment federal dollars that were allocated last year. So just really glad we were able to do that and receive those dollars. And then one other thing I will highlight, in addition to the excitement I feel around us being able to break ground soon on the MLK Park Lodge, we also will be investing over in our Roosevelt Park neighborhood with Plaza Roosevelt and hopefully the rebuilding of Roosevelt Park Lodge. So Plaza Roosevelt and then the lodge over in that neighborhood as well. Those have been on the neighborhood's wish list for a long time. So a lot of work we're doing. We know that there's a lot of need in this community and you can't move fast enough to meet all those needs, but there's a lot of good work that we're doing, not just on our own, but really in partnership with a lot of great organizations and people in this city. So with that, I should also say one other thing, since you were, Commissioner Isasi was talking about Commissioner Knight. Last week, we also had the investiture of the 11th president of Grand Rapids Community College, Dr. Lepper, and Commissioner Knight performed at the event and did a really fabulous job. So if you see Dr. Lepper, please join us in congratulating him. We're really eager to have him leading this important organization in our community. So with that, those will be the end of our comments. I do have, as I said, once we get through the business portion, we'll open up and get feedback on 3 scheduled public hearings tonight. But we'll start now with petitions and communications, and we have 4 items before us tonight.
Communication from James Myoho regarding their resignation from the Vital Streets Oversight Commission.
That is referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Mark Baker regarding street lighting.
That's received and filed.
Communication received from Celia Thaxter regarding street lighting.
That is received and filed.
Communication received from Lucas Leverett regarding a recent communication and ordinances.
That is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers.
Comptroller's report for the period of August 23rd, 2023 through September 5th, 2023 in the amount of $37,063,619.72.
That is received and filed.
Treasurer's report for the period of August 23rd, 2023 through September 5th, 2023.
And that is also received and filed. Next, I'll ask for a motion for the consent agenda. Consent agenda are items that we voted on earlier today in one of our standing committee meetings where there was a unanimous vote. So tonight with one voice vote, we'll adopt those items. Commissioners, can I get a motion?
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, that will take us to ordinances to be adopted, and we have 4 ordinances before us tonight.
Consideration of a conditional rezoning agreement to facilitate the construction and operation of an urgent care clinic at 1935 Breton Road Southeast.
All right, can I get a motion? All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Robbins, you want to tell us about this item?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This ordinance pertains to the consideration of a conditional rezoning agreement to facilitate the construction and operation of an urgent care clinic located at 1935 Breton Road Southeast. Back on the 5th of September, the City Commission had established the 19th of September as the date to consider the request of Grand Rapids Retail Management LLC to rezone this property from NOS, which is Neighborhood Office Service Zone District, to the MCN-C Mid-Century Neighborhood Commercial Zone District with a conditional rezoning agreement. The agreement is requested to facilitate the construction of a well-now urgent care clinic, whereby right now that is not currently permitted.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Perdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Estasi?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries. Next, that will take us to our second ordinance to be adopted tonight.
Consideration of a major amendment to a planned redevelopment district at 2984 Bradford Street Northeast.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support. All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Isasi, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On September 5th, we established today as the date to consider this major amendment that was to a previously approved planned redevelopment district on Bradford Street in Leffingwell, northeast, south of Leonard. This amendment is requested to facilitate the construction of a cardiovascular ambulatory surgical center for Corwell Health, formerly known as Spectrum Health. Really, this is happening because needs have evolved and the area didn't develop in the same way. We know that obviously there's been some development in the downtown area related to Corwell versus at this site. The proposed site plan and use changes to the approved development plan do constitute a major amendment. And included with this packet is also like the preliminary and the final site plan. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is also a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi,
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, that will take us to our third ordinance tonight.
Consideration of an ordinance rezoning 1058 Butterworth Street Southwest to the TN-LDR Traditional Neighborhood Low Density Residential Zone District.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Commissioner Knight, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, Mayor. On September 5th, 2023, the City Commission established September 19th, 2023 as the date to consider a request from the Spitzley Group to rezone the subject property from the Special District Industrial Transportation Zone District to the Traditional Neighborhood Low-Density Residential Zone District. Subsequent to the rezoning, the property is intended to be developed for residential purposes. The Special District Industrial Transportation Zone District requires a minimum lot of 10,000 square feet and a maximum lot width of 100 feet. The subject property is 5,567 square feet in area and approximately 50 feet wide, undersized for the SDIT Zone District. As an existing lot, the property could be legally developed for industrial use, although its size may make industrial development practically infeasible. If rezoned, the Traditional Neighborhood Low-Density Residential Zone District, the parcel will meet the minimum requirements for residential use.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Purdue,
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, next that will take us to our fourth ordinance tonight.
An ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2023-15 for fiscal year 2024, Amendment Number 3.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support. All right, moved and supported. Commissioner O'Connor from our fiscal committee, you want to tell us about this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. 10 items tonight. First item is our fire department hiring a recruit class for $1.5 million. If you remember at our previous meeting, we just authorized an increase in the number of firefighters on the force to help offset some overtime costs. Today at our Public Safety Committee meeting, we did get an update too about firefighter recruit and training, which was really great to hear the efforts that the fire department's using to help kind of grow our own from the inside and as well as diversify the department. So it's a great program, and I'm excited to see this item. Item 2 is from the planning department to turn a temporary position into a permanent office assistant 2 position. Item 3 is from the downtown improvement district, just to do some repairs to the snowmelt system. Item 4, community development department, affordable housing initiatives. This is to allocate nearly $5 million from ARPA funds to work on additional affordable housing units within our community. Item 5 is the 61st District Court, Michigan Drug Court Grant Program. We'll get about $60,000 to fund the 2023 Drug and Sobriety Court. Item 6, Economic Development Department is requesting to use some of their contingent funds to authorize the purchase of 4024 Kalamazoo Avenue, which is related to the development of our future fire station along Division Avenue. Item 7, the Parks and Recreation Department, Grand Rapids Children Fund, is going to transfer some money around to work on from the committed fund for some children's activities. Item 8, Parks and Recreation is going to authorize an increase. It'll be light.
Thank you.
Item 8, Parks and Recreation is going to to dip into the contingent account $211,250 to help address the ongoing needs in our community around tree trimming. It's been a priority for a while to try to get caught back up, and so this hopefully will get the balance of the tree work completed so that there's no more dangerous trees in our public right-of-ways. Item 9, our community's children is requesting to recognize a grant award from the Grand Rapids Community Foundation for $198,304. And item 10, fiscal services, is the purchase of 1500 Scribner Avenue Northwest, 1600, 1632, and 1660 Turner Avenue Northwest, and this is to purchase the items where our municipal services will eventually move to after we move off to one market. Contingent balance started the day at $1.48 million, and after the two contingents for the economic development land purchase and the Parks and Recreation, we'll have $1,165,730.21 left in our contingent account.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes. And Commissioners, can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, so that will take us to our 3 scheduled public hearings. So I'm going to combine a few of these that are related to the same either ordinance or code, I should say, or project. So I'm going to read the first 3. Notice of these hearings have been made pursuant to state law. We have discussed them publicly as a part of our committee of the whole process when we set this scheduled public hearing. So we have a public hearing tonight on a proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 155 titled Animals of Title 9 of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids. A public hearing to consider ordinance amendments, again, to Chapter 151 under nuisances of Title 9 of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids. And then a public hearing to consider an ordinance to amend Section 9.857.155 of Chapter 170 under municipal civil infractions, again, under Title 9 of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids. So what I'd like to do is have our Director of Planning Director, Ms. Turkelson, come forward, just briefly give you an overview of what the amendments entail. And then if you are here tonight to be heard on this item, I will invite you up to make comment after she is done. Again, the same rules apply. We ask that you share your name, the city that you live in, and we'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Turkelson?
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. These packages of ordinance amendments are being brought to you by both the Planning Department and the Department of Law. I have the pleasure of providing a brief overview for you this evening. You may recall a couple of weeks ago we did provide a thorough review of the proposed amendments. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry. Now I need my glasses so I can see my screen.
I don't know if it's better. Oh, there we go. Maybe a little bit more to the right.
Good.
All right, we're gonna get this.
All right, I promise this isn't the screen and it's not my presentation.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Asanti.
So as noted, there are a package of amendments here. Chapter 55 actually has 2 amendments. One is regarding the animal control, also looking at renaming that chapter to urban agriculture and incorporating some of the recommendations made by the Urban Agriculture Committee. And then finally, one of the cleanup items is to make sure that the section references within the municipal civil infraction are appropriate, and also to provide penalties for violations of the beekeeping ordinance. So I'll go through those briefly, but more detail than I just did. This is largely being prompted because of a change from Kent County to provide animal control and make sure that our city ordinance is aligned with that. There is some elimination of the dog section of the animal ordinance for the city, and moving some of the nuisance requirements under the nuisance code. The Department of Law has reviewed both the county animal control ordinance as well as the city's, and is in support of the recommendations that are being proposed. There were some additional changes that were recommended, largely regarding the notification process for chicken permit applications. Moving on from animal control, this was slightly opportunistic since we were opening up Chapter 155 of the City Code, which does contain sections regarding regulations regarding bees and chickens. We decided that this was a good time to begin implementing the recommendations of the Urban Agriculture Committee, which was a task force formed in 2017. There was a number of recommendations that were brought forward. We are solely focusing on backyard chickens and bees this evening, but you can see that there there is a list of additional recommendations that will be brought forward at an appropriate time. So currently, the city does provide for bees. The regulations are fairly restrictive based on the recommendations of the Urban Agriculture Committee. They've reviewed a lot of best practices from around the country, and of course their subject matter expertise brought forward the recommendations to update the flyaway barrier requirement, creating a permit process with a 3-year renewal, and then looking at some of our setback and lot area requirements to make it more feasible for more people to keep bees should they choose. Regarding backyard chickens, that was a fairly robust discussion several years ago, and there are a number of regulations that are currently within the city ordinance that we've been implementing. I believe it was first as a pilot phase and then as a permanent ordinance. So the Urban Agriculture Committee does have several recommendations. One is regarding a permit fee, which we will address in the next budget cycle. Looking at our lot requirements for being able to keep bees, making sure that there's different enclosure requirements, again, making it less restrictive than what it is today to make it more feasible for those that wish to keep bees on their property. And finally, the recommendation was to amend the neighbor notification requirement. So currently, when we receive an application, a notice is sent to neighbors, and neighbors have the ability to object to the issuance of a permit. If there is an objection, the permit is not issued. That permit renewal process has been revised, and current, as proposed, it does not require any neighbor notification or require a neighbor consent. So I believe, based on the recommendations of the Urban Ag and as we've drafted the ordinance before you, that we are recommending all of the recommendations by the Urban Ag Committee in their entirety. And I believe that's everything I have.
Thank you. And I just want to kind of maybe highlight for those who maybe didn't catch this, one of the concerns I heard from neighbors after our last meeting was this concern about animal control. And just to be clear, the only reason we're making that change is because it'll fall under the jurisdiction of the county. So there will still be enforcement when there are concerns about an aggressive dog or concerns about safety related to animal control. It's just that it'll now be under the purview of the county and animal control officers. And so I just want to affirm for you that even though we're changing ours, the recommendation before us tonight is not that those concerns will not be responded to or enforced.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Coulson?
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for bringing that up. I had some questions about that as well. And I think, anytime you're putting a number of things together, I think last time it was like 3 of you doing a presentation, so now you're doing it for the whole team. I think, the whole goal of this was how do we encourage and a recognition that urban agriculture is something that we want to promote. I do remember sitting through those commission meetings and they're being really interesting. I remember watching them, never thinking I was going to be up here, but I wanted to see what it was going to be. And so kind of to that point of, removing that renewal, just if somebody opposes that is not, that won't solely be a piece, because I think we have to, and I think there's probably been a lot of changes in understanding about how people either keep bees or keep chickens, and certainly in the second ward, there's a lot of people who want to engage in this, right, Commissioner? And so, but thinking about that permitting renewal process, are there other ways that we can connect to better understand if somebody has been a good neighbor to one another, or if there's considerations of, have there been any violations of had we go out there, like how can we bring that into this place? Because I don't want to, I think the spirit of this language is really good to say, how can we encourage it more, reducing fees? I think that's been something that, just generally across the city we've been focused on. Is that something that we'll look at? Is that, I think, kind of taking past information is a good point of view of how people will respond in the future. And just wanted to ask you that question, as that was, I think, yes, a lot of different considerations about, well, what if this has been a case at, a neighbor? That was at least a couple of questions I received. Thank you.
So currently This on? Oh, there it is. Specific to chickens, as it's currently drafted, it is a 3-year permit renewal process. That is something that could be considered. You mentioned the violations. I know that our rental housing program, for example, has more of a tiered structure. So if there is concern about going 3 years before a permit is renewed, then we could break that out, where if there is a notice of violation, for example, or someone perhaps not following the regulations that they've been spelled out, there is the ability to tier that structure, and perhaps if there is a notice of violation on file, it could be a 1-year permit renewal. Again, that would be consistent with how code compliance operates the rental housing program. So there are different ways to handle that if that is a concern.
Yeah, I would like to, I think we have some probably good structures in other parts. Thank you for bringing up that example. I think any sort of standardization or where, you know, that can be clear. And again, I assume that most people are probably, you know, doing the right thing, and but recognition if we're going to change it up where that, I can't remember, I know you explained that language the last time, where it is, again, you wouldn't need that approval. It would be automatic if it meets obviously the parameters that are outlined. So just thinking about some other guardrails that we could put into this language.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, before I open it up, I've been thinking about this since our last time together, and thinking about the chicken ordinance, because I was a city commissioner when we originally passed that. And I just want to share a little history for those who don't know the origin of how the city decided to change their chicken ordinance. I was a city commissioner at the time, and it was a group of students from Blandford who came and met with me and another commissioner and asked us to allow backyard chickens because they wanted to take their chickens home for the summer from Blandford. So every time I go out to schools a lot and I talk to students, and I always talk to them about how no matter how old you are, you can be a part of changing laws in your city. And I always use that as an example. So if you work with kids, you can tuck that story away and use it sometime. So with that, I will open up this public comment period. If you are here tonight to speak on any of these proposed changes, you are welcome to come forward and share your thoughts with us. Again, we ask that you share your name, the city that you live in, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. So come on up. Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm on the staff at West Grand Neighborhood Organization, and I'm here to read this letter on behalf of our Board of Directors and Executive Director, Annette Vandenberg. So, greetings, City Manager, Mayor Bliss, and City Commissioners. At WGNO's regularly scheduled Board of Directors meeting on September 18th, we met with community members and Kent County Commissioner Carol Hennessy to discuss the proposed city ordinance update regarding animals. WGNO understands that Kent County recently shifted responsibility for animal control from the Health Department to the Sheriff's Department, and that all municipalities would need to update their ordinances to be in alignment with the counties. We've been informed that Commissioner Robbins has been working with the community to update policies in regards to dogs and their owners. Recently, neighbors in the Richmond Park area have expressed concerns over not being able to remove dangerous dogs as easily with the current policy. WGNO was pleased to learn that the commissioners have advocated for this dangerous animal to be picked up and subsequently has been remanded to the care of Kent County Animal Control. We appreciate both commissioners for working to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. WGNO supports the new city ordinances and policies regarding animal control within the city of Grand Rapids to ensure a safe environment and community for all residents and their pets. We hope the public will take the time to read and understand these changes and join in support of these updates. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for coming. All right, others who wish to be heard on these specific ordinance amendments? Hi.
Hello, Robert, 2nd Ward. I also sit as chair of the Urban Ag Committee for the City of Grand Rapids. I'm just speaking today in support of the proposed ordinance amendment for Chapter 155, titled Animals, of the Title IX of the Code of the City of GR. The Urban Ag Committee came into inception in 2017 under the Title VI, Food and Health, Chapter 73. Our mission is to help guide city staff with policy recommendations related to urban agriculture, as well as educating the public on the possibilities and opportunities that there are with urban ag. In 2018, the committee collected feedback from local urban ag organizations, as well as neighborhood associations and residents on their agricultural activities and policy barriers that they faced within the Grand Rapids community. After collecting community feedback, additional research was conducted to look at the best practices throughout the nation as they related to municipal urban ag ordinances. In 2021, after 4 years of extensive research on best practices in communities that included Austin, Minneapolis, Chicago, Portland, Madison, Seattle, and Holland, the Urban Ag Committee completed a review on current city ordinances that related to urban ag. We finalized our recommendations for policy changes. 7 individual categories related to urban ag were identified: accessory structures, backyard chickens, backyard animals and livestock, beekeeping, composting, farm stands, and edible landscaping. Thank you to the commissioners, mayor, and city staff for considering these ordinance changes to 2 of the 7 items. We're hopeful the remaining ordinance recommendations will be considered and implemented in time. If adopted, these ordinance recommendations will remove certain barriers for community residents to have bees and backyard chickens. Removing these barriers allows for a more resilient community and gives residents an additional opportunity to be part of their local food system. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. All right, and thanks for your service, by the way. Others wish to be heard?
Would you like me to write my name still?
If you could, I think our clerk's office would appreciate that.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Calderon, Ward 1 resident, Vice Chair of the Urban Ag Committee, also Director of Sustainable Community Development at WEMIAC, currently the Project Manager and Lead Cooperator of the local Farm Services Agency Urban Agriculture Initiative Project, among other things. Thanks for the opportunity for public input and comment this evening. This urban agriculture ordinance update is a key piece of local policy that will allow and encourage more residents to participate in local food production that reduces the environmental burden that comes from the food system. Allowing residents to provide their own food sources is a cost-saving, climate-resilient action that improves the quality of life, health, and wellness of our community. This policy update is a good second step in support of the urban ag movement in West Michigan, but there is much more to be done. For instance, the backyard chicken ordinance does not allow for ducks, turkey, or other fowl, as I witnessed some earlier on the first ward today, as well as other small farm animals that can be a supplemental source of food and income for urban producers. The full policy recommendations that were referenced from the Urban Ag Committee submitted in 2021 go further. We don't need to get into all those details. We're still working to move forward on policy that will support organizational scale agriculture, create a new zoning ordinance for urban ag that codifies a more straightforward permitting process for certain activities, allows additional agricultural practices, and makes sustainable and emerging technologies more accessible to GR residents, such as composting. In order to have a robust and sustainable urban ag community in Grand Rapids, more changes need to be implemented to provide equitable access to fresh food. Additionally, there is now direct support coming from the federal government. The USDA has an Office of Urban Ag and Innovative Production, as well as the Farm Services Agency Office of Urban Ag that opened a year ago. And that comes with direct funding support for this effort. There's also encouraging changes from the state and county level with initiatives such as the Kent County Food Policy Council, and even private and institutional ag-related entities like the Farm Bureau and MSU Extension. Support this expansion of urban ag community that builds more resilience in our food system. We are aiming to expand the role of urban production in West Michigan through partnerships at each of these levels, providing jobs, healthy local food, and climate-resilient infrastructure for the entire community. These programs, paired with the current and future, hopefully, policy changes, will help support the growth of the local food economy. I encourage you all to take a closer look at the recommendations submitted by our committee and continue working to amend the restrictive and inequitable policies that exist within.
Thanks, Carlos. Thanks for your service. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello. Good evening. My name is Marshall Kilgore. I'm a proud Third Ward resident. Carlos, we got to talk a little bit quicker. We tiered it up here. So you got the chair, vice chair, First Ward, Second Ward, and now Third Ward. So I'm speaking in support of the ordinance to amend Chapter 155 of Title 9 of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids entitled Animals. I work with diverse stakeholders to help lift environmental justice daily. Environmental justice is a fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Fair treatment means that no population bears a disproportionate share of negative environmental consequences resulting from industrial, municipal, and commercial operations or from the execution of federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and policies. Meaningful involvement requires effective access to decision makers for all and the ability in all communities to make informed decisions and take positive actions to produce environmental justice for themselves. By enacting these two proposed amendments to the city charter to allow residents to have backyard chickens and bees, the city of Grand Rapids is doing their part to work towards environmental justice. These proposed changes will provide food in low access and low income communities, which is an equitable policy. Bees are a part of the biodiversity on which we depend on for survival. Introducing more of them to our city will positively affect plants, animals, and our community by beautifying our neighborhoods and helping to grow healthy food. Keeping chickens is one of the easiest ways to live more sustainably. They help eliminate scraps, produce natural fertilizer, and get rid of pesky garden pests. Assist with composting and provide free eggs that can be a wonderful source for nutrients for our families. We are optimistic at the Urban Agriculture Committee that the City Commission will adopt the remaining 5 recommendations from the Urban Agriculture Committee to continue to provide innovative ways to improve our community. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Marshall. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this item? Okay, I'm going to close that public hearing, and it will be referred back to the City Commission. All right, next that will take us to our public hearing related to a project on Godfrey that is referred to as Factory Yard. So I'm going to read those as Mr. Gracia and Mr. Klooster come up. So we have our Economic Development Director, unfortunately, who will be leaving us soon, and our soon-to-be interim Economic Development Director, Mr. Klooster. So these are related to, as I said, a project that is referred to as Factory Yard. This is a public hearing to consider a transformational brownfield work plan for the $147 million Factory Yards redevelopment project, which is located at 565, 573, 640, 655, 835, and 943 Godfrey Avenue, 700 Martin Luther King Jr. Street, and 615, 620, and 644 Chestnut Street Southwest. It's also a public hearing to consider an obsolete property rehabilitation district pursuant to PA 146 of 2000 for the same project, and a public hearing to consider an application for a 12-year obsolete property rehabilitation exemption certificate pursuant to Public Act 146 of 2000 for the same project. Public hearing for these items were made pursuant to state law. So tonight what we'll do, we will have Mr. Klooster tell us a little bit about this project, and then I see some of the developers and visionaries for this project here with us tonight. We'll give them a chance to share some additional input and feedback, and then we'll open it up for public comment. Mr. Klooster?
Great, thank you. We're very happy to be here tonight with the team proposing this project. It's fitting that the project is in the First Ward, and here we are in the neighborhood. We've been working on this project for a long time, many years, through various iterations and project proposals. The Factory Yards team is represented by 3 gentlemen here, Scott Magaluk, Ben Smith, and Dennis Griffin, who have been in the community and the neighborhood surrounding this project for a long time. You've seen this project come in front of you for zoning approvals already, rezoning to facilitate the project as proposed. There have been updates at various commission meetings, and we're happy to be here finally having a public hearing on the city's first transformational brownfield plan for this transformational project. So I'll give a brief overview here. I say brief because I'm used to saying brief. I'm not going to be as brief as normal given the scope of this. But you're familiar with this area, Godfrey Avenue, south of Market from the railroad tracks to Oxford. This project is 15.5 acres. It's characterized currently by obsolete buildings, vacancy, and it's also adjacent to some beautiful things, Roberto Clemente Park and the Oxford Trail, and it's next to some great neighborhoods, the Black Hills and Roosevelt Park. So transformation of this 15.5 acres includes the proposal that will result in 467 total residential units, over 150,000 square feet of commercial space, which is retail, office, hospitality, self-storage, and a proposed fitness and recreation use. The total development is a $147 million project with construction costs of $126 million. Current estimates, Wolverine Building Group is the general contractor, and they are targeting 14% of the spend on this project for minority-owned, women-owned, and micro-local subcontractors. And we can provide detail on that to the extent it is desired. The project includes a half-acre courtyard to serve a food court, as well as the community, visions of the neighborhood using this half-acre courtyard between a couple buildings on the private property here. 825 total parking spaces, 220 in a ramp, 605 across on the surface. Sufficient to park the project, self-park the project. And throughout the whole scope and the various components, based on the uses expected and the size of the spaces, an estimation of 226 jobs that could be established at this project overall, and depending on the project job type, with wages ranging from $17.50 to $37.50 per hour. The project has various components, and I'll talk a little bit more detail on each of the components just to give you a sense of the complexity and the diversity of this project. So on the screen here you have component one, which we call mixed use. That is the redevelopment of the McInerney Spring and Stamp building. There's a 3-story component, the long building along Godfrey, and then a 5-story component. That's a $91 million project. It will result in 382 apartments and 116 of the jobs that I referenced. That's where a food court will be, 23,000 square foot food court with opportunities for various operators, and there will be additional retail as well as the parking ramp associated with that. Component 2 is that purple section. That's the reuse of a warehouse type facility currently, largely for self-storage, available for the users of the development, but also the community. The high bay portion of that on the south end is envisioned as a fitness or recreation facility as an amenity for the neighborhood. That project's about $8.3 million, and 12 of the jobs are associated with that. Component 3 is on the north end, the top left of the picture. That's the scraping of that site and the construction of 2 new buildings, 12,000 square feet and 13,300 square feet. 100 of the jobs are there. That's a $6 million project for office and retail space. And then the last component is a new development on the south end of the site. That's a 4-story new construction, 100% residential project with 85 residential units, and has a price tag of approximately $21 million. Come on, am I frozen? I'm not frozen, I am slow. We have a few images here. You can see going from, in reading order here, top left to the bottom right, the 5-story building where the food court would be, an arcade connecting the buildings. There's a boiler house in the back. There's the plaza that will serve the food court as well as the community. And then images of the redeveloped 3-story McInerney Spring and Stamp building on Godfrey Avenue. The top left, you have the ground-up residential development, and then various images of the north commercial, the 2 new buildings there. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about the transformational brownfield program, because this, as I mentioned, is the first transformational brownfield proposed in Grand Rapids. There's a lot of similarities and a few differences, but those differences are very key differences from the traditional brownfield program. In order to qualify for the transformational brownfield program, which exists under the same legislation, in Grand Rapids, the project has to be $100 million minimum investment, and the project has to, in the estimation of the local unit of government, be expected to have a transformational impact on the community. So I've described that, what we believe is transformational impact that's possible through this project. It also expands the incentives, so it creates more eligible costs that can be reimbursed through the brownfield program. We're used to bringing you projects where demolition, environmental assessment and cleanup, site preparation and public infrastructure are eligible costs. Under transformational brownfield, the majority of the hard construction costs are eligible. And then those are able to be reimbursed through the same incentive as the traditional brownfield program, plus additional state income taxes that are paid by construction laborers, residents who will live at this facility, and then individuals who will work at this facility. And so it creates a much more powerful economic incentive for the project, recognizing that projects with this complexity and scope and scale and various components don't happen without that sort of support. I want to also emphasize that the transformational program does create an opportunity for us to work with the developer to create mixed income housing. It does that because it provides additional incentive if the developer will agree to that, and so the details are on your screen. 10% of the units overall will be income and rent restricted for households earning 60% of the area median income, and 10% will be income and rent restricted for households earning 80% of the area median income. The developer will be obligated to that for 20 years, and that is a condition of the incentive. That is not something that we're shaking hands on. That is an agreement that you will be asked to approve, and compliance with that is a condition of the incentive. The last thing I wanted to show here is a breakdown of what's in front of you for consideration tonight for your public hearings. That's the local property tax capture and the obsolete property rehabilitation exemption. Those are the things that the City Commission has to approve and forward on to the state. And the remainder of these incentives and revenue streams here are associated with the transformational brownfield program. A couple key things. These are big numbers. There are no checks written to this developer until and unless they do the project and comply with all the terms and conditions, complete the project as proposed. Without a project, there is no incentive. The reimbursements come from property taxes that will be created by the investment itself and by the jobs and residential units that are created. These are revenue streams that are paid over time, a period of up to 27 years, as shown on the table there. And therefore, are the public investment in the project over a long period of time that's generated only by the project itself. Those are the things that I wanted to communicate and provide some detail on. And then I do want to invite Scott Magaluk, representing Factory Yards Development LLC, up to provide a little more detail and talk about their experience working on this project over 6 years, 5 or 6 years or so, until we arrive here today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Jono. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So as Jono mentioned, there's 4 components to the project. It's a large site, it's 15 acres, mostly vacant at this point, and it's fitting we're in a building like this today because this is what we envisioned for the site. So taking an old building, it's a beautiful asset in the community, located next to the park and the trails, and we want to breathe new life into an old building. Really from day one, I think through some of the city programs like Design Team with the Planning Department, which brings everyone together, we've had great support. Just thinking about this project from a holistic level and trying to tackle most of the hurdles that we've had over this probably 2.5-year period of this plan. So we're just very appreciative of the city, very appreciative of Jono and his team, and we're excited for the next steps. We've had a lot of community engagement with the neighborhood groups in Roosevelt Park, especially Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association, have had a lot of great feedback, and one of the things we're excited about, a couple of the things, there's the plaza in between the two buildings. There's an existing structure there that we're taking down now to create some relief, as well as community space that will coexist with the park across the street, as well as the food hall, which our approach to that is a hyper-local food vendors. So it's 11 stalls. Each will be ran by an independent entrepreneur of different food concepts. And so it'll be a place where about 18 months prior to that opening, we'll work with our operator to go out into the community and work with community groups to find local food entrepreneurs that are looking for space in a low-cost environment to open up a restaurant concept, and then be able to work with the other vendors in the space and drive demand. That's, I know we've talked about the project before, but happy to answer any questions and go from there.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you and your partners, especially Dennis. I think it was at least a decade ago that I first met with you, maybe 8 years ago. And I had the ability to spend some time and go and tour the site and see firsthand the level of work it needs to bring it back to life. So thank you all for being here tonight. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioners, First Ward Commissioners, I know you've been actively engaged in this process and with the neighborhood. Any questions or comments? All right, Commissioner, I'll go Commissioner Robbins, then Commissioner Isasi, who serves on our Economic Development Corporation and Brownfield Authority.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. I remember you all had reached out to me several months back and given me a tour as well. And I just appreciate the interactions I've had with each of you throughout the process, as well as just the engagement with the neighborhood associations and taking into account, the history that this building offers our community and being able to repurpose it in a way that's meaningful to all of us. So, and I know housing is probably mentioned 10 times in every meeting we have. So this is just an important step too for our community moving towards our goal of creating more affordable housing. So thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, thanks for the presentation. Sometimes we forget, we did talk about this at this other meeting, and then of course at Brownfield. I did just want to highlight, I think, there's been a lot of work done with this presentation to be really clear about the incentives, the time frame, and I just appreciate Jono and Jeremiah for putting this information together, and the team. This is transformational. I think we were able to celebrate that at the Brownfield meeting, and it's exciting to see this come forward, and exciting to be able to look at this and think, these last 4 years have gone by pretty fast for me, and to think, 4 years or 22 years or 27 years. So I appreciate the transparency and the breakdown. I think it's a great highlight of what this project was, and then working together to be able to get to this mixed income piece, because we know that is certainly something that we value. We hear that from our constituents. We heard that today. So just thank you for the work to make sure that there's a lot of transparency in what the project is. And I would echo as well, working with a variety of stakeholders to make sure that a neighborhood that has been disinvested in, that hasn't really been invested in, will hopefully have that opportunity and create other catalytic opportunities as well. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. All right, so if you are here tonight to be heard on this item, please come forward. Again, we ask that you share your name, the city that you live in, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Hi, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Amy Brower. I'm a resident of the 3rd Ward, but here tonight my capacity is director of the Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association, which is, of course, in the 1st Ward. So thank you for bringing the meeting tonight here into the 1st Ward. I'm here tonight basically to represent the Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association and express our support for the Factory Yards project to be approved for the transformational Brownfield program. Over the last year plus, the Factory Yards team has provided consistent updates to the Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association about the project, and have been open and receptive to our suggestions, feedback, and have been shown willingness to talk about issues or concerns that we've had. I'll also say the development team's been true to their word to continue to keep our PNA informed on project updates and timeline status. And we really do feel that this project meets the criteria of that transformational program, the criteria and the intent of that. Just in particular, we appreciate the Factory Yards development team's commitment to making the property amenities on the site available to all residents, regardless of whether they're in the affordable units or market rate. That there'll be the affordable units and the market rates will be mixed throughout the site, giving a diversity of socioeconomic status. And also, it is really important to the neighborhood association that opportunities are available for those MBE, WBE, MLBE contract partners to benefit from the project by bidding on portions of the project elements. And in fact, Wolverine Building Group's already been in contact with RPNA about bilingual marketing material in English and Spanish. We've made the recommendation also to, in the future, also include Swahili, so we can really expand and be inclusive of all of that talent that we know that we have in Roosevelt Park and Black Hills. So with that, I'll just end saying that RPNA is supportive of this project and the Brownfield transformational plan moving forward.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate your work. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Sini Gant Jordan. I am a resident of the Roosevelt Park, a business owner in Roosevelt Park, born into Roosevelt Park, and I appreciate the information that was given tonight by the Factory Yard group. However, when I think about transformation and transformative in our community, I would like to challenge them a little more. I don't believe that my question at one of the engagement sessions was answered regarding the intentionality of maybe designing a program that would include people from the beginning of the project that are in the neighborhood. What we do know is that when people of color, particularly Black people, when they are bidding on the process, there's a lot of barriers. So how are you removing those? And what are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do, right? So we know that our Black young people and older have been left at the table when it comes to the development process. And we want to change that game. And it starts in our community where we've been paying taxes, right? I have a business right up the street from Factory Yard. I've had people in my family that worked when it was Mac and Ernest there.
Sini, can you address
sorry.
your comments to us? That's okay.
I'm addressing it to everyone because I really want them to understand the intentionality behind this.
Yeah.
It has to begin to be different.
Yeah,
and we've challenged you all several times on this.
Yeah.
I do support the project. I'm not saying I love it, but I just want more intentionality to happen and begin to involve us as community members in the process from the beginning.
Okay.
I've been right up the hill from this project, and I've only seen them one time, and that was on Zoom. So there are people in our community that want to begin to learn this process. And so I think this is an opportunity for people that are behind the project can create an opportunity for those that have been left out. We are coming from an underserved community. So when does this change? And who's being held accountable to change it? We are, as community members. You all are, as representatives of our community. So I'm asking for a chance for change. However, again, I do support the project. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sini. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commission. Tim Moraz with The Right Place. I just wanted to quickly spend my time sending out some thank yous tonight. First, I want to start by thanking the city and the Commission for supporting this project and seeing the true transformational value of this project. I also want to thank the Economic Development Department itself. As you can see by the tiny words on the slides and the amount that was crammed in on each slide, it is extremely complicated. It's an extremely complicated project. There are only so many transformational brownfields that have been completed in the state of Michigan. And this is a testament to the knowledge of that team and the talent that you have on board here. I've also had the honor of working with Dennis from the beginning on this project back in 2017 when he started trundling around Grand Rapids. And looking at these old buildings, we've been through COVID, we've been through supply chain issues, we've been through recoveries, we've been through inflation, we've been through construction increases, and yet we're here today, looking at the potential of approving this transformational brownfield plan. So again, I want to thank the development team, and I want to thank the city, and I want to thank the commission. More importantly, I want to take a step back. What hasn't been addressed tonight is the impetus that this sets for attracting additional housing here to our community. Part of my job at the Right Place is to travel around the country and convince developers that Grand Rapids is a place to build those thousands of units of housing that we need. They can't all be built by people in Grand Rapids. We would love that to happen, but that just probably physically cannot happen. So when I travel out to like Los Angeles next month, and I'm meeting with developers out there, you can better believe that this project will be what I communicate to them as an example of how Grand Rapids is open for business and how they're open for developers, and that we are an example of private-public partnerships and how development works in our city. So again, thank you to you guys, and thank you to the economic development team that's worked so hard to put this together. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, Tim. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this project?
Mark back. Okay. The McInerney Lofts and CNO Towers, that's why I'm dubbing this. I can understand jobs and plenty of jobs available and so-called mixed income stuff. However, there could be problems once this project is complete. There are a lot of Hispanic residents live in that general vicinity. And we have elitist individuals who's going to stay in this project. And Hispanic residents who've been living in that area for quite some time. You could have a clash between the two. That's what my worry about it is. And as I said before, for a prior project, the CSX Railroad is going to be another problem. Trains are going to be coming in and out of there. Be a lot of noise and a lot of pulsating vibrations. So with this project, is there going to be any soundproofing? Is there going to be any reduction to keep the noise at minimum? Because trust me, if not, you have a problem attracting tenants because they don't want to hear no train noise every day and every night. So you better think about this. Because the people who will live there, work there, they're going to bear the brunt of that stuff. That is what I'm worried about. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. All right, is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this public hearing? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing. That will be referred back to our committee of the whole. All right, that's going to take us to our last scheduled public hearing tonight, and this is a public hearing to consider past performance and future needs of housing and community development programs. So the City Commission heard a very detailed update and briefing from Ms. Bohach. So this before us tonight covers our neighborhood investment plan outcomes. I'll read through those. We have 8 of them, and our goals with this program is to prevent and resolve episodes of homelessness, improve access to and stability of affordable housing, increase the supply of affordable housing, improve the condition of existing housing, foster engaged, connected, and resilient neighborhoods, improve community safety, improve economic opportunity, and enhance neighborhood infrastructure. So these are federal dollars that come to our city, and through the planning process, we make recommendations on how those dollars will be used. So we look back and we look at the progress that we've made, as well as looking forward and affirming our goals with these dollars. So as I said, the City Commission was briefed by Ms. Bohat. She is here tonight to answer any questions that we may have or anyone in the public may have. And we set the public hearing. So tonight's a public hearing. Public comment is going to end on September 22nd. And then the final, what we call as CAPER, the CAPER document, will be sent to HUD after that. So with that, Commissioners, do any of you have any questions for Ms. Bohat? Did I cover all the important pieces? All right, well, I'll have you sit kind of close to the front or just right over there if anyone does have any questions. And I will open up this public hearing. So if you are here tonight to be heard on the past performance and future needs of our housing and community development programs, please come forward. Again, we ask you to share your name, the city that you live in, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Hi, how are you? Yeah, you can give those to the clerk, and we'll make sure that every commissioner gets those. It's good to see you again.
Good evening. My name is Anna Diaz, and I'm with Community Rebuilders, and I promise to keep this short. So we want to thank the city for the opportunity to comment on the financial fiscal year 2022 program performance and community needs. Community Rebuilders is a Kent County nonprofit housing organization focused on building a community where homelessness is rare, brief, and one time. Our mission is to rebuild hope through housing opportunities for families and individuals with support services during transitions. In 2022, we helped over 2,000 people obtain and maintain stable housing. We wish to support the city's continued funding of the following activities: the CDBG, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solution Grant programs. Through the Home and CDBG programs, Community Rebuilders served 323 households from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Financial assistance and support services funded through these programs help to prevent and resolve episodes of homelessness while also increasing access to affordable housing for residents of the City of Grand Rapids. We support a housing first approach and support the City of Grand Rapids' commitment to this approach as outlined in the Community Development Plan. We support the use of Community Housing Connect 2.0 as a vital enhanced coordinated entry tool in our community and look forward to an improved system focused on the people we serve. The outcomes of our currently funded city programs can be found in the attachments that I've provided. The success of these programs and the need identified in the fiscal year 22 annual action plan highlights the needs for more funding for tenant-based rental assistance, rapid rehousing financial assistance and support services, and the development of affordable housing administration and planning. I will share with you one of the stories from our CDBG funding, just to give you an example of the households that we served. This past June, the CDBG project served a literally homeless refugee family of 10 fleeing domestic violence. With a large family, this single mom who spoke no English was afraid of not being able to find a safe place for her family. They were living in a shelter with no income. The CDBG Housing Resource Specialist was able to coordinate transportation and interpretation to facilitate a quick program involvement or enrollment. The Housing Resource Specialist met with the family on a Monday, and by Friday, they had been approved for a four-bedroom house with a private landlord. Within a week of being connected to CDBG, this family of 10 was able to move into a fully furnished permanent home. While in this project, they were provided with supports to increase their income and maintain their housing long-term. As mentioned, this is just one example of many, and you will find additional information on the demographics, the number of households we served, and number of people that enrolled in the program. So, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for your partnership, especially most recently with the rapid rehousing, and then Anna was with me at the recent ribbon cutting or groundbreaking with Hope Network. Community Rebuilders will be working with Hope to do the permanent supportive housing at Fulton and Carlton, so thanks. All right, others wish to be heard?
Thank you. I want to thank Ms. Deputy City Manager, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, elected officials, and city staff. You put in a long day today. Thank you for being here. My name is Jim Davis, a proud Third Ward resident, which is I'm still getting used to saying, but a really proud Grand Rapidian. Today I'm here to speak as the Vice President of Business Development for Family Promise of West Michigan. Our CEO, Tanisa Fry, could not be here tonight. She had an event. But I just wanted to say thank you for your commitment to community development, to your city staff who's doing a wonderful job, to all of the amazing community partners that sit at the tables with us. At Housing Kent, Housing Next, the Housing Stability Alliance, the Continuum of Care with K-Connect. We've been there for years talking about what was the housing stability spectrum and now the continuum that we discuss. For us to address the housing crisis that we're in, we recognize that the entire continuum needs to be addressed. That includes transitional housing, temporary housing, permanent supportive housing, and obviously rental and ownership opportunities. And as you consider your funding allocations, we want to say thank you for supporting our friends at the Salvation Army through CDBG for $60,000. The Salvation Army also received ESG funds at $295,000. And community rebuilders who continue to be a great leader in our community for $345,000 plus dollars. We recognize their essential work, but I also want to share briefly with my remaining time that Family Promise is the primary transitional housing provider here in Kent County for families with children. 95% of the families who are experiencing homelessness, who are going to find a place to lay their head at night, are doing that through Family Promise here in this community. Today we have 41 families that were turned away from shelter because we are out of shelter. It was 48 last Tuesday. These are families with children who are trying to attend school, families who are trying to get to work, people who are out there making it hustle, like some of those who came up and spoke tonight. Those families are unable to find shelter because we are out of rooms. No matter what your head count, to eliminate the lingo, we do a head count to count homelessness in January or February, depending on what year it's been. That doesn't represent families. You also have a bed count. There are other ways to call that. Each night where we say this is how many beds weren't used, it doesn't recognize the turnover, the cleaning, or the individual bed inside of a family's room where we intentionally keep a family unit together. I wanted to let you know that 63% of the people in shelter with Family Promise are children, that 77% of the families we serve are Black or African American as defined by HUD, that 85% of those families are housed 1 year after receiving our services, that 90% of people who come through Family Promise find a place to call home after they're in shelter. These are not arbitrary numbers. This is real-time data. We're asking to be considered in the funding allocation of ESG, CDBG, and home funds as we continue to help the city meet their 8 goals. And obviously, I want to just highlight the prevent and resolve episodes of homelessness and to foster connectedness and resilient neighborhoods. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jim. And you're always welcome to provide additional details in writing as well. Thank you. Thanks for your work. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this report?
Good evening again, Lucas, First Ward. This hearing is a welcome opportunity for feedback, and much of it's going to be the same stuff that many like myself have been saying for a while. I will implore you to consider truly stepping out of the shadow of flawed traditions and any influence of the wealthy and powerful with regard to housing programs. It is also important to express appreciation for the things that work, like funding our neighborhood organizations and various other initiatives and partnerships. My concern looking at the past is the same as I've expressed in my response to Mr. Van Jessel's recent communication. GR has been outsourcing moral responsibility to shady faith-based groups who continue to fail and preside over decades of negative and horrible testimony from those who've seen the truth on the inside. On top of it, these entities are known to push their brand of superstitions and fables on those seeking help. Many of these outfits enjoy a bizarre cult-like reverence. I worry that creates blind spots in leaders and decision makers. We should be realistic about this issue and grapple with the reality that entities like Mel Trotter are not in the business of housing, but in the business of homelessness, which is a sad concept to consider when you really think about it. Critique of these charities is not just the rhetorical fodder of people like me. I met a few months back with the president of the Grand Rapids Chamber, and Mr. Baker remarked to me that we have a city boasting something like 40 charities who claim to be working to help the unhoused, yet so little progress is made. He and I were able to agree that the results have been lacking and new ideas should be attempted, though I continued to insist that cruel Christmas-time letters from corporate goons doing their best Scrooge and the passing of redundant police abuse enabling laws are not it. With these widely known failings in the rear view, I'm hoping you'll move away from the urgings of blindly privileged oligarchs and hypocritical religious groups and instead seek independent and secular partners. Or do more inside the city apparatus. There are plenty of ways to form new task forces, new departments, things that can be spun up to help deliver the good work that you've already done in updating moldy old laws and regulations, and the vision that so many of you contributed to the earnest efforts at hand. Let's not use future funding and energy rewarding failure. Let's push bold ideas like converting empty commercial real estate to housing, acquiring surplus school properties for the same, and leaning in on rent controls as the cold, dead grip of evil state law becomes loosened. That's my ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this item? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing, and again, that will be referred, actually, it won't be referred back to us. So I'm going to close that public hearing. And with that, I want to again thank all the city staff who came out tonight and worked so hard to make sure that we had another successful commission night out. Thank you for your work and your service. Everyone, I hope you have a safe ride home tonight, and we are adjourned.